Χαίρετε, χαίρετε. Είμαι ο Ραφαήλ Καλυβιώτης. Καλώς ήρθατε σε άλλη μια εκπομπή Right to the Bone. Σήμερα θα έχουμε τη χαρά και την τιμή να έχουμε μαζί μας τον πάστορα Ρίκη μέσω του διεθνούς branch μας πλέον, που είναι η Δάφνη Νούσση, που μας κανονίζει αυτές τις καταπληκτικές συνεντεύξεις, ούτως ώστε το Right to the Bone να είναι ένα κανάλι το οποίο θα έχει και μια διεθνή απήχηση και θα μας φέρνει σε επικοινωνία με τα διεθνή δυτικά δεδομένα, ούτως ώστε να αναγνωρίζουμε ότι δεν είμαστε μόνοι μας. Ο πάστορ Rikki Doolan είναι ένας άνθρωπος φλογερός, ο οποίος έζησε πάρα πολύ δύσκολα πράγματα στη ζωή του. Πιθανώς πήρε λάθος στροφή στα νιάτα του και μέσω του Θεού μπόρεσε να αντιστρέψει την κατάσταση της ζωής του. Έχει απίστευτα πολλές χιλιάδες followers στο Instagram και όχι μόνο. Και είναι και ακτιβιστής και προσπαθεί να παλέψει τη woke κουλτούρα μέσω της δύναμης που του δίνει ο χριστιανισμός και ο Θεός. Σε λίγο θα έχουμε μαζί μας τη Δάφνη Νούσση και κυρίως τον πάστορ Rikki Doolan. Τα λέμε σε λίγο μετά το intro. Καλώς ήρθατε σε άλλη μια εκπομπή Right to the Bone.
Shut up and sit down.
You wanted law and order in this town. You've got it.
People are ready to tell us, this is not possible, that is not possible. I say, whatever the true interest of our country calls for is always possible.
He had a press conference the other day that he wanted the European Parliament to be the democratic party of the community. He wanted the Commission to be the executive, and he wanted the Council of Ministers to be the Senate. No, no, no.
You know, they have a word. It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
You wanted law and order in this town. You've got it.
Χαίρετε, χαίρετε. Είμαι ο Ραφαήλ Καλυβιώτης. Καλώς ήρθατε σε άλλη μια εκπομπή Right to the Bone. Σήμερα έχουμε τη χαρά και την τιμή να έχουμε μαζί μας τον πάστορα Rikki Doolan, ο οποίος είναι ένας άνθρωπος βαθιά θρησκευόμενος. Άλλαξε τη ζωή του ο χριστιανισμός, ο Θεός του έδωσε τη δύναμη και ταυτόχρονα είναι ένας άνθρωπος ο οποίος είναι ακτιβιστής εναντίον της woke κουλτούρας. Έχει πάρα πολλές χιλιάδες followers στο Instagram και στα μέσα κοινωνικής δικτύωσης και παράγει έργο όχι μόνο στην εκκλησία, που και αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό, αλλά και στον δρόμο, ούτως ώστε να αντιστρέψει αυτή την παρακμή η οποία βιώνει η Δύση. Λοιπόν, ας καλησπέρα στη Δάφνη Νούσση. Δάφνη, καλησπέρα.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους τους φίλους. Καλησπέρα, Ραφαήλ.
Ωραία. Λοιπόν, Δάφνη, πάμε αμέσως στην συνέντευξη, να βάλουμε τον πάστορα μέσα. Η εκπομπή θα είναι στα αγγλικά, όπως αντιλαμβάνεστε, για να έχουμε μια ενδιαφέρουσα συζήτηση. Pastor Rikki Doolan, hello. Thank you for being in our show.
Good news to you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here with you.
The honor is ours, and we're very happy having you. It is a good thing that people in all Western countries have a discussion, have a dialogue of what's happening, because the problems that we face are quite similar, maybe in a different extent, in different levels, but what's happening in the West is now a Western phenomenon, actually, and woke culture and all things that want to turn down our civilization are actually the same, and it is good knowing people and introducing people to the Greek audience like yourself that are doing something for it and do not only complain. So that's actually a great thing. I want to thank Dafni that brokered to bring you here on our show. And let's begin. I was impressed by your personal story, because it is a story you know, that brings our attention to it. The fact that you had a quite party-like life, rock and roll style life, and something over, you know, until the end of the road didn't fit well, and you said that God saved you. So I would like, please, to hear about it, because it is good to know someone from his personal experience how God saved him.
Okay, thank you so much. So as you said very correctly, I lived a rock and roll lifestyle, and I was very good at that rock and roll lifestyle. And basically that consisted of a large amount of alcohol, a large amount of drugs, and a lot of parties and debauchery and all the rest of it. And it was a life that, after a certain amount of time, became very dark and filled with darkness. I think when you're somebody who's taking drugs a lot, or alcohol, or any substance abuse, you go to a place that becomes very dark, because it's a place that's really ruled by the devil, and it's a place of self-destruction, and that's a place where I'd really got myself to. Now, I've been a musician for many years, so I've been a musician since like 2001, and you know, that rock and roll lifestyle was also full of music, and part of my journey in music was to studying American music, basically studying the history of popular music, and that was a journey I was on in my personal time. And when I did that, I went deep into American music, and I found country music, I found blues music, and I also found gospel music. Gospel music was really impacting me every time I listened to it in a very poignant way. There's an artist, original gospel artist called Mahalia Jackson, and she has a video on YouTube of her singing Amazing Grace, and she sang it on the Johnny Cash show, which was a secular television show that was going to a secular audience. And I would play that song, and it would hit me so hard that I would be awake on cocaine like 5 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'd be going on YouTube and watching this video of Mahalia Jackson, and it would hit me so hard that I would weep, even though I was on cocaine, I was on ecstasy, I was on marijuana, everything, but I would weep. And there was something in the music that I could feel a pain, but I could feel an overriding hope above that pain, just in the singing. And I didn't know what that hope was. And I searched for a band that could recreate that feeling. And I found it on a Saturday morning with a hangover in a church building. And I went there, and I used to run nightclub and pub music events, live music events. And I found this band that was singing this gospel music. And I said to them, look, I want to put you in my nightclub. And I had this grand vision of putting them on in the middle of 12 a.m. when everybody was drunk, and that it might have some profound impact like it did on me. And they never came to my nightclub, but I went to their Sunday service, you know, and I found out that hope was Jesus. And once I connected with Jesus, it radicalized my life from the inside to the out. Everything went away. 20 cigarettes I used to smoke a day, it stopped. Narcotics, ecstasy, cocaine, everything, it all stopped. The alcohol stopped, and Jesus began to heal me from the inside to the out. And it was really a moment that it impacted me so much that I just want everybody else to know about it. And I want everybody else to have that opportunity to also experience Jesus for themselves. And that's why naturally, I dedicated my life to the work of God.
So it is one thing, though, that you found God, but I would like to ask if your family or someone from your friends, was a person that really believed in God, and that made you have some experiences that will lead you lead you to this, I don't want to say outcome, but this this finding of God, or it was something God sent in a particular moment, like a flash or something like that, being out of the church and hearing this song?
It's a good question, because my family are from northeast of England, a working class former industrial town called Middlesbrough, and we all grew up with a Catholic upbringing. So our primary school was Catholic. We attended Catholic church, but like many people in the UK, Catholicism or Church of England, once we got to an age of being able to choose, we just said, no, we ain't going back. So by the time I got to the age of 11, I never went back to church again, Catholic church again. And same with my family. They were like Catholic by name, but not really Catholic by practice, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
so
I know.
That was kind of the whole of my family. So I was really the first person in my family to come to Jesus in a big way. And since then, which was 2012, it's now 2023. So 11 years I've been walking with the Lord Jesus Christ. And since then, my cousin, one of my close cousins, he's almost, you could say, a brother. He's now with Christ and he's working full-time ministry. My mother received Christ. My other cousins received Christ. My aunties received Christ. So it's been an amazing journey, and we're not finished yet.
That's great to hear. Pastor Rikki, what I wanted to ask you is this. We have seen in recent surveys that for the first time, Christianity in the UK is a minority religion. And I couldn't I must ask that I've seen pictures in Facebook and on Twitter that the people in the UK celebrate the Ramadan, but when it comes to Christmas, for example, they prefer to use Happy Holidays and not Merry Christmas. So it's something like a turning point in the UK. It's like the UK is losing its Christian identity. Do you agree with this estimation?
Well, I'll tell you what is the reality. There are this thing of the Christianity going below 50% and Christianity dwindling. It's a lie from the pits of hell, because when they do these censuses, they are not including many churches, including my own church. They don't include the growth within our churches. For example, the church that I'm a pastor in, we have 1,000 people every Sunday in East London in the United Kingdom. Yet when the government or when the media want to talk about Christianity, they want to use the pictures of the Catholic churches, of the Church of England, that are dwindling in numbers because they fail to keep up with the move of the Spirit. And really, many Christians around the world speak of revival. Well, we've been in the middle of a revival for 10 years.
Yes.
I mean, 1,000 people coming every Sunday to London. And then in other branches around the world, just my ministry alone, we have 15,000 in our branch in Zimbabwe. We have thousands in the branches all around the world. And that's just our church. I know many other ministries that are also thriving and growing. And, you know, God is moving in these ministries in such a big way, signs, miracles, and wonders. So when these fake news medias and these anti-Christian governments begin to release these statistics, I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe a single word of it. It's a lie. So what it is, it's an anti-Christian movement to try and move the light of Jesus Christ out of the way so that they can get on with their dark games and their dark ambitions. And that's why you see the Western governments and the Western media pushing Islam, pushing LGBTQ, pushing Black Lives Matter, pushing all these different anti-Christian movements, because they're all anti-Christian movements in one way or another. And that's really an assault on Christianity. And that's why the Christian voice is always is always attempted to silence. And that's why when you look at conservatism in the West, conservatism basically is rooted in Christianity. So that's why you see an attack on conservatism, because of the Christianity that's in conservatism. They want to squash it. So that was one of the reasons why I began to speak, and I will continue to speak, because as Christians, it's now time. We have to speak now, and we have to rise our heads above the parapet, and we need to speak the truth, and the truth is Jesus Christ.
Of course. Dear Pastor Rikki, so first of all, I'd like to say to our audience how we met. So about 1 week ago, both of us were speakers at an event of Turning Point UK. Our audience is familiar with Nick and Connie, our CEO, because we had an interview a couple of months ago. So we've been protesting in a pub in Dulwich, in East London, because they host events for under 5-year-old children, drag shows. So Pastor Rikki had an amazing speech, very, very dynamic, and thank you for it. So I'd like please to share a few remarks with our Greek fellows.
Great. And you said it perfectly, Daphne, which was that the event that they were putting on in that particular pub was targeted between 0 to 5-year-old children. 0 to 5. So even a newborn baby is welcome to go to this show. And what we're seeing is transgender entertainers, they call themselves entertainers, dressing in drag, and on many occasions gyrating in semi-naked attire in front of children, and shaking their backsides, being almost naked and performing sexual dance routines in front of children. And meanwhile, the parents are in the background clapping and cheering and throwing money at these performers. And it's just a disgrace. In fact, it's an international disgrace that if the parents want to do that, then the governments and the authorities should be in position to stop it from happening, because this is child abuse. It's actually something that it's been going on for quite a long time, and it's really good that at least people are standing up to it now. And if we move aside from the sexual performances, you've also got the LGBTQ indoctrination. So they're training the children to be transgenders or to be homosexual, which of course, every adult has the choice to be homosexual if they want to, or to be a transgender person if they want to. But when you indoctrinate children towards that direction, it's what I would call a wrong, number one, but I would also call it evil, because a child is a child, and a child should remain with child content, not adult content. And these drag story queen events are really throwing adult content towards children. And of course, as a Christian, their indoctrination is anti-Christian, because God created man and woman, and he created man and woman to be together, and he created man and woman to procreate. So if individuals and children are pushed towards homosexuality or pushed towards transgenderism, then procreation is gone. It's finished. And right now my beautiful wife is expecting a child in 1 month, and let me tell you something.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's the most beautiful thing in humanity when a woman conceives a child and that child grows for 9 months in the womb, and then from that comes to the world a new human being. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. So this LGBTQ doctrine, which is basically anti-procreation, is really something that's evil in the world, and it's something that the children should not be exposed to in the way that they are right now.
Pastor Rikki, I wanted to make a slight remark in order, for you to develop your point of view here.
Yes,
I think that because of the fact that the church, not all churches, but in the UK, some of the official the official Church of England, if I'm not mistaken, has agreed for homosexual marriage.
right.
So I agree with you that every individual should choose the sexuality and all the stuff. But on the other hand, if Christianity and the Christian churches accept every now and then something that is against what Christianity teaches us, then I think that you cannot draw the line. Where do we draw the line? It's all after that relative. It's all relativism. So I think that Christians and Christianity as a whole should have a common front, in that attack against normal people and against people that want to procreate, that want to create a nuclear family, which are the vast majority, actually.
Yes.
But on the other hand, you see, because we can observe, because of the fact that all this propaganda is going on. For example, you said about children being sexualized. You see that's happening on Netflix as well, on some series of Netflix. So it's a constant propaganda going on from a certain system of people, of interests, of I don't know what their dark agenda is. Maybe you can explain it to us afterwards. But it seems that it is a time where all Christians, when all conservatives, when the people of the West should unite against a system that wants to destroy the Western civilization. Do you agree? Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's very important to understand that Jesus gave us the commandment to love everybody.
Correct.
And therefore, whether it be gay, lesbian, trans, Muslim, whatever it is, the person, the people, I love them. And as Christians, we should love them. But the act now is something that I don't love. And as Christians, we shouldn't love. And guess what? We shouldn't tolerate it. And this is where the left will always argue that, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. I mean, on Twitter, I'm called fake Christian. I'm called fake pastor. Always by the left. They always come with these things. And there's so much misunderstanding in the discourse. It's crazy. And that's because of, like you said, the propaganda, where at the end of the day, and this is where the Church of England have got it wrong, is that, yes, we must love the person that has slipped into homosexuality or that has slipped into transgenderism, but we should never hold back the truth from that person, that what they're doing is against God's will. What they're doing is against the Bible. What they're doing is against the way that God created us to be. And that's the reality. And just like any parent who loves his or her children, you don't spare the rod from that child. You don't allow that child to do everything. You have to, in love, correct the child when the child is wrong. Now, it's the same in Christianity. It's the same in humanity, that whilst we love everybody, we have to draw the line, and we have to teach people that this is not the way that God intended things to be. And these are the reasons why it's not good. And these are the reasons why it doesn't work. And what we've seen in the propaganda campaign of the West is that they are attempting to force everybody to tolerate everything.
Correct.
Now, in that tolerance, they don't want to tolerate Christianity. and they don't want to tolerate anybody that has a difference of opinion when it comes to LGBTQ, when it comes to Islam, when it comes to all of these woke agendas. So they teach tolerance, but they don't practice tolerance. And the thing that Church of England looks to have done is gone down the woke route. And maybe it was their dwindling numbers that did it. Maybe it's something deeper and more political that's done it. But they have definitely gone woke, and they've definitely gone politicized, because to stand there and promote LGBTQ as a Christian is just sacrilege. I mean, it's really wrong. It really goes against everything that the Bible teaches.
Pastor Rikki, correct me if I am wrong, but Christianity teaches us that we're not against the sinner, we are against the sin.
Correct.
And so the Church of England has changed what the Bible says about the sin. What has happened?
Well, they've gone for inclusiveness, and in that inclusiveness, they've lost the essence of who they are as Christians, because the Bible also says that all sin is equal. So not one sin is greater than the next sin. And Jesus sat with the prostitutes, and Jesus sat with the tax collectors. But when you encounter Jesus, just like my own personal story, Jesus is supposed to impact us in a way that we stop this wrong way of life. For example, mine was cocaine, alcohol, rock and roll lifestyle, and they all stopped because I ingested so much Jesus through the Word of God and through my own personal relationship and seeking a greater relationship with Jesus, that these things just stopped automatically. So it's not possible for somebody to continue in a homosexual lifestyle or a transgender lifestyle if they are truly ingesting the Word of God and truly having a relationship with Christ. So I believe the Church of England has opened themselves up to the devil, and it's the devil working through that organization that is now presenting a different face of Christianity that is simply not true or accurate. And it makes our job a lot harder. But, you know, even the Bible in the book of Revelation, it predicted all of this would happen. So it's not surprising. These are the end days, and this is what we are seeing.
Speaking of tolerance, I'd like to ask you, how did you feel when, in order to say a couple of words in this event, we had the protection of more than 100 police officers of the Metropolitan Police in London because of the counter event outside of this pub?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's actually correct. Like, in terms of, it's good that we have this great opposition. It's good because it's exactly how the West is setting up right now. And there are so many people who are against the woke culture and who are against the demoralization of our cultures. But they're not speaking. So it's good that we see this type of image where the opposition is great in numbers and we are growing in numbers. And then people can see, at least there is a platform for me to also come and express my views. And at least there's a platform of people that are standing for the same things as me. And I'm sure you're going to see the growth of our voices and the growth of our counter push against this woke agenda. But so even if the police were not there, we were still going to continue. And there is you know, there's no opposition that creates any type of fear or really creates any type of chance of us not speaking. So I think it's quite a poignant image, these protests with transgender people and people with all placards calling us racist when we have every race represented on our side. It really shows that the inaccuracy and the deception is on the woke side.
I agree. So the thing here is that many people find it difficult to, you know, to come to join the cause, if I may say the cause in brackets, because we have seen in many events in the West some authoritarian moves against conservatives and against Christians, both in the UK, in Canada, in the US, in Greece. We have seen the state and actually the systemic political parties joining, being woke and being and protecting all this woke movement, because it's not actually a movement. So what will you say? What do you want to say to people that are afraid either that they will lose their jobs, they're afraid that their friends will not talk to them if they express their political or Christian views? What do you say to people that actually are afraid of the system and of all this social justice things? That, because, you know, many people that are maybe our friends as well think this way. They say that our views are a little bit weird, are a little bit old-fashioned, or we are a little bit of fascist. We're not fascist, but we tend to be close to fascism and all this stuff. So to all these people, what is your advice?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's got to do what they feel in their conviction, and if that conviction is to take action and stand against what they believe is wrong and stand for what they believe is right, then I encourage everybody to do that, and for everybody to know that they're not alone. And there are millions and millions of people around the world that do not agree with this woke religion that's taking place. But in terms of being afraid, really, there's nothing to be afraid of, because the thing that could come from this is actually way worse than what it would be for us to lose a job or for us to do something. Because definitely the alternative is really bad. Because I'm glad you used the word fascist, because the real fascism is coming from the woke side. It's coming from those that are attempting to make people be afraid of speaking, or make people be afraid of losing their job simply because of having a certain opinion. That's fascism. That's suppressing a person's voice, suppressing a person's right to oppose a policy or an opinion or a social trend is the real fascism. And that's what we saw in Nazi Germany. That's what we saw in many fascist regimes in history of humankind, which is that people were silenced. People were forced into a certain way of thinking and forced into a certain way of social behavior. And that's what we are seeing in the West now. But they're doing it in a way that their propaganda machine is so strong that they are painting the conservative voices and those that oppose them as fascists, when it's ridiculous. You know, you see the far right label. It's also ridiculous. and any type of opposition against LGBTQ or any of these type of things, they label as far right, and it's really ridiculous. So I would encourage anybody out there, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Stand for what is right. Stand for what is good. And there's one thing that I wanted to say in response to something you said earlier, which was the reason why this is happening. And even in politics and conservative politics, there's still an element of political correctness that people expect. But because I come from a background of Jesus, I don't mince my words when it comes to spirituality. And one thing is for sure, life is spiritual. You have light, you have dark, you have good, you have evil. And Jesus is good and the devil is bad. That's the basic standing of spiritual life. And what we're seeing is we're seeing the darkness, we're seeing the devil operating on the side of wokeness and operating on the side of this. So if you're somebody who is afraid to oppose that, just know that the light is on your side. Jesus Christ is on your side. And anybody who feels weak or afraid, I would tell them this: bring Jesus into your life, because Jesus is the best decision you can ever make. And if you want to fight the darkness, there's only one way to fight the darkness, and it's with the light. And Jesus is the light. And this is something I've been saying to people all the time. If I switch off this light now, it'll become dark. And that's what's happened in the West. They've pushed Jesus out of their society, so it's become dark. Now, the only solution to bring the light back is to bring Christ back. And that's why we're here.
So wokeness is what rise from godlessness.
100%, because there's an absence of light.
Yes. So one thing very interesting that you said is that there is good and there is bad. Yeah. There is God and there is devil. Yeah. So in cultures that are not on their prime, and they don't have anymore what is good and what is bad. Everything is, as I said before, relative. Everything, it is relativism. So we're afraid to say this is good, this is bad. So there is no more in the West good or bad. So I think the reason why this happened is because we put out of our lives God. 100%. That's why, because God gave us constant and clear a clear path on how to live our lives. For example, that might be an issue that you would like to comment as a last comment. Women, for example, are made from man, and women are equal, of course, to men, but women are also the pillar of society that helps our society to create a nuclear family and have a role in society. And motherhood is a sacred role. So yes. It is. I think that through women as well, they tried to deconstruct our values, our faith, our society, our civilization. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely agree. And they did that through the feminism movements, and they took feminism to the extreme, which is exactly what they've done with all of these movements, where they presented at the start that it was a fight for equal rights. And then, of course, when equal rights was achieved, it's now a fight for dominance, and it's a fight for indoctrination. And, through the feminist movements, they've looked to demasculine, I don't know what the correct word is to use, but they've reduced masculinity right across the West, and they're continuing to do that. And of course, Christianity and the Bible teaches masculinity, and it teaches that the husband is the head of the family house, and it teaches that God created man, and from his rib he created woman, and he created woman as a helper. He created a wife as a helper, and these are all values that have been in our societies for thousands of years successfully, and they've looked to deconstruct that bit by bit. And you know, whilst opportunity should be equal between man and woman, men and women are different, and men and women have different roles in the family household and even different roles in society, and that should be something that we appreciate and something that we support. And I love being a man, and I love my wife as a woman, and I appreciate men and I appreciate women. And men were built different to women, and they were built differently for a reason, and that reason should be celebrated and not diminished. So yeah, 100% is true what you're saying. They've came in through that route of kind of attacking the, you know, it's biblical as well to say, if you attack the head, then the flock will run, and the head of society is the man, because Jesus created man in that way. So they attack the head, and everything else becomes easy for them to dominate.
Yeah. All right. One last question. What are your plans? What are your plans as far as music is concerned? And what are your plans on going against this woke culture? Will you continue to protest? Will you continue to speak plainly and loudly for people to hear?
Yeah, definitely going to continue to speak, and that is the very bare minimum foundation that I can do, and that anybody can do, which is to speak. Now we have our own platforms, we have the internet, we have social media, we have our mobile phones that have video capability. So there's nobody that can stop us from speaking, and that is the bare minimum that I will continue to do. I will continue to speak the truth, and the truth that I know to be the truth from the Bible, from the teachings of Jesus, from the teachings of the Bible. I will continue to speak that truth. And, you know, I've got a rally coming up with Turning Point UK this Saturday that's taking place at the Honor Oak pub in London. And it's another Drag Story Hour protest. So we'll be there for what we are calling round 3, because that's the third protest. And of course, the opposition, we already know, are planning to be there. And, you know, we will never be phased, never be phased. So if anybody wants to come to that, they should come along. And I'm expecting our type of opposition movement to grow. I'm really expecting it to grow with time. And, you know, it's very exciting. It's exciting to stand for the truth. It's exciting to stand for the future of Western culture. And it's really something great. And you asked about music. So
yes,
yeah, we never even spoke about music today because, you know, there's more important matters. But then music is very important too, because that's what brought me to Christ. So when it comes to music, you know, it's my same ambition that I can reach enough people to introduce Jesus to people via my music. So I have an album coming out in the coming months, and a new song coming out at the end of this month with a music video. So looking forward to getting that out to the world. And people can catch me on YouTube, Rikki Doolan. All my music's there.
I'll be sharing in the Conservatives Network your song God of Colors.
Okay,
yes,
nice.
we will on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, on our Twitter, so on our Instagram. So we will share it with our audience. And
I'll be seeing you on the 25th. I'll be there.
Good stuff. Good. So, Pastor Rikki, it was a pleasure. It was an honor having you today. I think it was a great conversation, and I want to wish God to be with you all the times and to serve Him as you do until now. And I will end this discussion by saying that God is light, the devil is darkness. That was the greatest thing that was said.
Amen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Rikki. Λοιπόν, αυτός ήταν ο πάστορας Ρίκη, ένας άνθρωπος με μια έτσι πολύ ιδιαίτερη ιστορία, ένας άνθρωπος ο οποίος έκανε τη ζωή που ονειρεύεται το σύστημα να κάνουμε, δηλαδή που μας προβάλλει μέσω των ταινιών, μέσω του Hollywood, μέσω του Instagram, μέσω όλων των μέσων κοινωνικής δικτύωσης, μια ζωή δηλαδή και ένας βίος ο οποίος διάγεται με ένα συγκεκριμένο τρόπο, ειδονιστικός, λίγο πολύ το μόνο που μας ενδιαφέρει είναι να αποκτήσουμε ένα κοινό και από αυτό το κοινό να αποκτήσουμε λεφτά, δημοσιότητα, φήμη κτλ. Και όλα τα άλλα έρχονται σε δεύτερη μοίρα, η δημιουργία δηλαδή οικογένειας, η δημιουργία και το κτίσιμο μιας σταθερής προσωπικότητας, η ισορροπία, η ψυχική του χαρακτήρα μέσω του Θεού. Όλα αυτά λοιπόν είναι πράγματα τα οποία τα πέρασε μέσω του συστήματος, φαντάζομαι, και αυτό τον οδήγησε σε μια ζωή η οποία ίσως θα μπορούσε να την χαρακτηρίσει κανείς έκλητη. Έναν έκλητο βίο, ειδονιστικό, με πολλές καταχρήσεις, ναρκωτικά, αλκοόλ, τσιγάρο και ούτω καθεξής. Και μέσω από αυτής της καταστροφικής πορείας πέρασε έξω από μια εκκλησία, άκουσε ένα κομμάτι τραγούδι gospel και μπόρεσε, του έκανε ένα κλικ, αυτό το θαύμα που λέμε καμία φορά, αυτή η επιφύτηση η οποία έρχεται, την οποία οι άνθρωποι που πιστεύουμε την αποδίδουμε στο Θεό. Και κάπως έτσι βρήκε τον Θεό. Ήταν μια στιγμή και μέσω αυτής της πίστης, αυτής της δύναμης που του έδωσε ο Θεός, μπόρεσε και απεξαρτήθηκε από όλες αυτές τις ουσίες, αλλά επί της ουσίας έκανε 180 μοίρες, αλλάζοντας εντελώς τη ζωή που ένα σύστημα του επέβαλε ως ζωή την οποία αξίζει να διαβείς, να ζεις. Και αυτό λοιπόν το κάλεσμα, το οποίο αισθάνθηκε ότι είχε, τον οδήγησε στο να γίνει πάστορας, στο να κάνει κηρύγματα, στο να είναι ενεργός, ούτως ώστε να αντιστρέψει την παρακμή αυτή που θεωρεί ότι υπάρχει και συντελείται και λαμβάνει χώρα αυτή τη στιγμή στη Δύση. Είναι ένας άνθρωπος τον οποίο πρέπει να ακούσουμε. Ήταν χαρά μας που τον ακούσαμε. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ τη Δάφνη Νούσση, μέλος της ομάδας μας του Right to the Bone και συντελεστής του Right to the Bone. Σημαντικός. Και νομίζω ότι πήραμε κάποια μαθήματα. Δεν είμαστε μόνοι. Δεν συμβαίνουν αυτά τα πράγματα μόνο στην Ελλάδα. Δεν πρέπει να τα βλέπουμε τα πράγματα μόνο ως ελληνικά φαινόμενα. Οι άνθρωποι οι οποίοι συμφωνούμε σε βασικές αξίες, μπορεί ναι μεν σε επίπεδο διακρατικό να έχουμε διαφορετικά εθνικά συμφέροντα, αλλά οι κοινές αξίες της Δύσης μας ενώνουν παρά μας χωρίζουν, όπως προσπαθεί η αντίπερα όχθη και η αντίπερα προπαγάνδα να μας περάσει.
Ραφαήλ, ένα σύντομο σχόλιο να πω για τους φίλους, ότι είναι ίσως περίεργο, αλλά εγώ αισθάνομαι πολύ πιο κοντά με τους φίλους που είναι συντηρητικοί εδώ πέρα στο Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο, παρά με κάτι Έλληνες που καίνε την ελληνική σημαία με κάθε ευκαιρία στη διαδηλώση στο Σύνταγμα και στα Εξάρχεια. Δηλαδή, φυσικά είμαι πολύ κοντά στο έθνος μου και προσπαθώ να τηρώ τις παραδόσεις μου και εδώ στο Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο και φυσικά στην Ελλάδα. Αλλά είναι αλήθεια ότι σαν άνθρωποι έχουμε κάποιες αξίες και οι άνθρωποι αξιών είναι οι άνθρωποι τελικά που προσελκύουμε, νιώθουμε καλά κοντά τους, ανεξαρτήτως του έθνους τους.
Συμφωνώ, και το βασικότερο, ένα άλλο από τα μηνύματα τα οποία μας άφησε, με το οποίο εγώ το ασπάζομαι, είναι ότι πρέπει να μιλήσουμε, πρέπει να αντιδράσουμε, πρέπει να δώσουμε τον αγώνα. Εάν δεν το δώσουμε εμείς για τα παιδιά μας, κανένας δεν θα το δώσει για μας. Ο Έντμουντ Μπέρκ είχε πει μια πολύ σπουδαία φράση. Η γνωστή του ρίση που λέει ότι για να θριαμβεύσει το κακό, πρέπει οι καλοί άνθρωποι να το αφήσουν και να μην κάνουν τίποτα γι' αυτό. Αυτό λοιπόν το οποίο κάνουμε και προσπαθούμε κι εμείς μέσα από το Right to the Bone να αποδείξουμε ότι το κάνουμε ενάντια πιθανώς στα συμφέροντα τα οποία έχουμε από τη δουλειά μας, ενάντια στον ελεύθερο χρόνο που έχουμε από την προσωπική μας ζωή, ενάντια στην ξεκούραση, ενάντια στα πάντα. Προσπαθούμε δια του υποδείγματος να αναδείξουμε τα ζητήματα και να μπορέσουμε να ανατρέψουμε την κατάσταση. Όχι μόνο να αντισταθούμε, να ανατρέψουμε την κατάσταση. Πρέπει να μιλήσουμε. Και ο Θεός είναι μαζί μας και ο Θεός θα μας βοηθήσει να νικήσουμε. Το σωστό, το καλό, ο Θεός το αγιάζει και στο τέλος θα νικήσουμε. Αυτά, παιδιά, σας ευχαριστούμε που μας παρακολουθήσατε. Τα λέμε αύριο με Απόστολο Πιστόλα, μάλλον την Πέμπτη, και Χρήστο με τη Λινιό την Παρασκευή. Σας ευχαριστούμε. Καλό βράδυ. Να είστε όλοι καλά.
Καλή νύχτα.
Shut up and sit down. You wanted law and order in this town. You've got it.
People are ready to tell us, this is not possible, that is not possible. I say, whatever the true interest of our country calls for is always possible.
He said at a press conference the other day that he wanted the European Parliament to be the democratic body of the community. He wanted the Commission to be the executive, and he wanted the Council of Ministers to be the Senate. No, no, no.
You know, they have a word. It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
You wanted law and order in this town. You've got it.